Good morning, everybody. We are back. It is the right side of campus. We are live on a Monday, a new week, new opportunities here. April 30th, 2018. We usher out April and head into May. I'm your host, the big man on campus here with my co-host, Donnie Rightside. Donnie, how you doing today?
Doing good today, man. Looking forward to it. The last day of May. A lot of stuff going on tonight. We have Sixers, Celtics in action. Exciting week of Major League Baseball, NBA action, NHL action. Couple games going into overtime. Very interesting, but good time to be alive. May is on the horizon. If you didn't know out there, if you take a look right under the SBR logo here on YouTube is the Intertops logo. It's that time of the month, folks. It's going to be May 1st. A long summer of Major League Baseball leading right up into NFL and college football. Hit up Intertops, get the best lines out there, early lines. As always, support the people that support us at sportsbookreview.com. Intertops, one of the best in the business.
As we said, we'll put a bow on May and head into April and put a bow on that and head into May. We'll also put a bow today on the NFL draft. We'll wrap up our talk about that, who won, who lost, some interesting things that happened over the weekend from the late rounds 4 through 7. We'll talk a little MLB, NBA, OKC going home, Cleveland moving on. That more coming up. Welcome into everyone out there listening. Hope you enjoy the show. Hit the like button. Make sure you're sharing the show wherever you go. Sharing it on Twitter is the easiest way. It allows it to get into the hands of people that might not see it on a regular basis. Make sure you're hitting the retweet button. Appreciate you all listening. Hopefully, have a enjoy the show here. Let's get into it, Donnie. We'll start out with some morning headlines here on a Monday. Feels like a Monday. I feel very Monday-ish today. Here, if it just, it's cold. It's not a particularly good Monday, Donnie. Cold, 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 isn't it?
Yeah, no, wake up in the morning, 45 degrees, high of in the low 60s today. But it looks like the gas is about to get turned on here in the Northeast, mid to upper 80s by the end of the week. So finally, as we like to say, Jeff, we are going to get some hitting weather. And if you guys are just popping in for the first time, yep, just sent out the retweet right now for the show. Retweet it out. The better the chat box, the better the show, as we always like to say it. And if you're watching for the first time, folks, sometimes you're going to cut in and you're going to say, the hell are Jeff and Donnie talking about? I thought this was a sports show at this point. You're going to get the topics on everything. You're going to get some daily lingo for us, Jeff. Music, movies, top 5 list. You're going to get sports. You're going to get captain. You're going to get it all right here on the right side of campus. What a better way to start your morning all summer long. We'll get you right in the fall, folks. Baseball's a grind. Jeff knows that. I know that. But it doesn't mean you can't have fun along the way.
We'll start it out, Donnie, with some headlines today. A big three ball covers the number for the Pacers. And look, if you had the Pacers, you were on the right side. Listen, if you want to continue and complain and whine, they had the Cavs. Again, I think it's time to relook at how you're doing things. I mean, the Cleveland Cavaliers don't cover as a favorite, and it should come as no shock to you that they didn't cover last night. I know they needed a three ball, but Indiana hung around. They did a nice job throughout the series of withstanding runs. They were down at times, and look, they didn't play their best game yesterday. They were down early, but Oladipo hits a three ball that. Listen, I mean, if you're betting the Cavs, you should expect stuff like that at this point. There's a reason. Donnie, they're 13-31 at home this year against the spread, and as a favorite, it's just been a mess. Talk to people long and hard about this one. If you're betting the Cavs and you're doing it on a regular basis, you're going to have things like this happen.
Yeah, you saw it coming a mile away. I was at one of my 19 family parties that were scheduled for the month of April, so getting those all out of the way. But was sitting down with everybody. We all knew what the line was, 5.5, 6, depending on where you were getting it at. Taking a look at that game, Jeff, you saw it coming down the line. The one thing I am surprised with is that Indiana fouled on the previous missed three, because a lot of times if they're down 4 or 5 points with 8 or 9 seconds to go, they just walk off the court. Game 7, we lost. We're going to go home. No use to, spreading this out any longer. But they foul on that. I believe it went 1-1 at the free throw line, or maybe even made both of them if I can't remember. But you knew it was going to happen, Jeff. 5 seconds to go, 6 seconds to go. Whether or not Oladipo was even going to take a shot was the only question. You knew that Cleveland didn't give a damn and wasn't going to defend it. It basically would have been a layup or a free throw for Oladipo. He drills it. You get the big oohs and ahs from the peanut gallery at the party because we all know what that meant. Some people have money on either side of that. It's fun to watch, but that's why we like to bring it up. It is gambling. It comes down, even though the game doesn't matter, Jeff, the point spread always matters. And right there, living or dying on a last second three, that's the way gamblers do it.
Exactly. A couple missed free throws by George Hill aided in that cover. We move on to surfing. We don't talk about surfing much in the show, but fascinating story here out of Portugal. A Brazilian, Donnie, Rodrigo Coya, has set a Guinness World Record after he was videotaped riding an 80-foot wave, 80 feet high in Portugal. I'm fascinated by these videos. I see them all the time. If you know me, you know I'm a big ocean guy. I enjoy jet skiing, and I remember when I was a kid, Donnie. My brother and I surfed a lot. It was just during the summer and stuff. It wasn't, I was really young. I was probably in my early teens. But I mean, listen, I remember, you didn't down the shore, Donnie, like when a hurricane comes something, you might see 7, 8 foot waves, but I mean 80 foot waves. I mean, that's amazing. Now keep in mind, Donnie, for his big prize, he was obviously recognized. He also got a nice $25,000 prize. I feel like you should get a little bit more for surfing a wave this high. A fascinating thing here.
Now, was it because I know this, I saw it pop up there, so I'm not too in depth with the story, but I did see the wave that he came in on. But I do remember a while ago, maybe on HBO, like one of those Real Sports, that is this the tournament that you're supposed to ride the biggest wave possible? And if you do ride the biggest wave and it's a world record, like they break you off money and you go into the record books. Was that this tournament, or
Yeah,
is this just a wave that
yeah.
popped up out of nowhere?
It was the Quicksilver XXL Biggest Wave Award.
There you go. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, so the World Surf League has these big wave awards, and according to the article, where this guy was, it was a infamous area as far as waves are concerned. They, generally are known to have these massive walls of water. So, listen, I mean, I'd urge you to check the video out. It's pretty amazing. I mean, as far as how big, the water gets. I mean, just amazing. And they were talking about some of the people got, hit by them and they were injured for, months on end. It's just amazing.
Yep.
Uh, doesn't get a ton of money for it, but I think for the surfing game, Donnie, it's more or less the experience and the fact that you were actually able to do something like that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
notoriety. I mean, yeah, they're probably what are they going to do? Break you off 25 grand, then you're probably going to get some sponsorship deals out of it because all those surfing magazines, they're going to run it. Your picture's going to be everywhere. So maybe a little Quicksilver, maybe a little Maui Jim out there, maybe Tommy Bahama, Jeff. You get some sponsorships on the horizon. You're riding waves like that. Household name overnight.
Oh, sure. No, you're definitely going to be a big timer after that. I know Zach Jones at SBR is a surfer. I'm going to go ahead and guess he's probably not surfed an 80-foot wave, but very, very interesting nonetheless there. Let's move on. One other thing, Donnie, as we kind of transcend into the NFL draft, we'll wrap that up today. The big story, obviously, over the weekend was Shaquem Griffin being drafted, not only where he was drafted, just the overall fact that he was drafted and the journey that he's taken. I talked to my dad about this. My dad reached out to me about this. I, my dad, Donnie, doesn't have a left pinky, and I honestly all the time think of that whenever I see stuff like this. Obviously, this is a much different story. This guy has no left arm, basically. What an amazing story! I mean, I know people talk about this stuff ad nauseum, and then sooner or later you kind of get sick of hearing about it. But I'm not sure I'll get sick of this story. This is a fascinating story, one of really just I'm going to try to do something, and I'm not going to stop till I get there. The fact that he was then drafted on his own brother's team, pretty amazing, Donnie.
No, it is an amazing story and good for the kid. Worked hard. Obviously, he tested off the charts at the combine. I mean, you want to talk about making it's hard enough just to be a professional athlete in any sport and then be hamstrung. Because you're right, Jeff. It's not like it's, JPP who can still function with a two or three fingers on his hand. He's missing his entire hand. If you know anything about football, it's all about leverage and protection and tackling. You need both of your hands. Hell, forget about just intercepting a ball, Jeff. How about just tight end coming up across the middle? You're trying to wrap them up, or you're trying to fight off a block. You need your hands to engage, rip, and impact and rip through the play. It's just an amazing thing, and good for him going to Seattle with his brother. Makes for a great story. Seattle's still looking to trade Earl Thomas at this point. They're probably not on the way up, but a good feel good story in the NFL, Jeff. It's not about feel good stories about what you can do for a team, right? Because everybody would get drafted if that was the case. The kid can play football. That's why he got drafted in the NFL. That's why he got drafted where he did. Congratulations to the kid. He can play football. That wasn't a charity case saying, hey, let's sell some jerseys or come up here and play. NFL teams don't do that at all. If you can help the football team, they're going to draft you regardless. Imagine, Jeff, if the kid actually had a hand and what are we looking at? A first round draft pick? Top 20 pick? Something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably. Yeah, I would think
Yeah.
if he was fully, he had both arms. I would say yeah. I mean, you look at size wise. I mean, 6 foot 230, runs a 4.38, and that's pretty fast, Donnie. 4.38. A
Amazing.
linebacker runs a 4.38.
Yeah.
That's very fast, actually. Again, yeah, the physical limitation is there a bit, but is there really a physical limitation? I mean, if I saw this guy, on tape, I wouldn't really even notice it, frankly. And there was a couple stories like this, Donnie. I know, Troy Fumagala was drafted by the Broncos. He
Yep.
has a physical issue as well.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. You really put your own life in perspective here about stuff that you can't do. I know this kind of opened my eyes a bit. I mean, I can't do certain things, or I don't think I can do certain things. Yet people like this guy, and you know what it does? It inspires other people. I saw the little girl that she doesn't have an arm, and she's
Yeah.
flipping around and doing all sorts of cheerleading things, and it really allows other people who may not be as confident to be who they want to be, and that's very cool. Good for him. He's really the definition of determination. Great stuff from him. Hopefully he does well at the next level. um Donnie, we'll kind of continue and wrap up our NBA draft cover or NFL draft coverage here. Move that lever down there a bit. Really put a bow on how certain teams did. I thought there were a lot of winners. I thought there were a lot of losers as well, and there always are in the NFL draft. We'll start with uh, just some big headlines that we saw from the draft. Go ahead and move that down there, Johan, please. Need
Yeah,
to
first one,
see the.
first one up on there, Jeff. We'll go right off with a couple winners and a couple losers. We'll start with you right there. Why don't we go over the winners of the draft in your opinion? Give us two teams that won in this draft, or you think that can get that immediate impact help and had a good draft.
I think Denver had the best draft in the league. I don't know that there's one over them. I mean, you look at obviously Bradley Chubb was a great get, kind of fell into their lap there at number 5. Really sets them up just fantastic on defense. I mean, Donnie, when you have a group of Derek Wolf, Chubb, Pecco, Marshall, and then Von Miller, I mean, that's a pretty damn good front seven. One of the best in the league. There's a lot of good front sevens, Donnie, in football anymore. Whether it's the Jags, the Eagles, the Broncos, there's a lot of good front sevens. I also like the fact they took a shot on Josie Jewell. Josie Jewell is limited physically. He's not as big as everyone else. But this is a guy, Donnie, when you look at work ethic, you have to imagine there might not be a harder worker in football than Josie Jewell. His limitations are there. He's not as big as everyone else. But this is one of those, Donnie, kids we joke about, those Iowa corn-fed kids. This is a farmer. He grew up as a farmer. He probably threw a ton of hay bales and wrestled pigs and all sorts of stuff. This is a hardworking kid. I'm sure he's going to take this opportunity. And I have a feeling, Donnie, he's going to make a difference in Denver, whether it's on special teams or wherever. I also like what they did offensively. You go out and add Royce Freeman, the guy to Oregon, that can be a real nice change of pace back for you. And you might have got two of the best receivers in the draft. I thought Cortland Sutton was a guy that was a first round talent. You're going to add him to the mix. And you had Deshaun Hamilton, who, yeah, I think from a character standpoint, is one of the nicest kids in the draft. Good student, good human being. Great player. I just think what they did was absolutely fantastic. I think they really helped and improved their football team a lot. If you're a Bronco fan, I'd be quite excited about that. Another team that I thought did a nice job was the New York Giants. I mean, frankly, I know I don't, we don't want to give them Donnie. I mean, when the Giants do something good, you don't want to give them any credit, right? You want to hope that they always live in misery, right?
No, yeah, you're right about that. But if we watch me and you draft, like just because we disagreed overall on the second pick, it doesn't mean that you drafted Baker Mayfield second and you crush it. I mean, you did get the best player in the draft at running back at number two. I thought they should have went quarterback. But again, that's not a bad pick. You know what I mean? Day one impact, he's going to help your team. So Giants had a very good
Right.
draft.
And not only did you go out and get him, who is a transcendent talent, and he's someone you need. I mean, they haven't had a run game in a long time. But you also went out and you got Will Hernandez, who was the best guard in this draft. You look at the left side of that line, Donnie, on the blind side. Nate Solder and Will Hernandez are a huge upgrade from what you had, and that was one of their glaring issues for the Giants this year. The inability to do anything positive on the offensive line. They couldn't run the football. They were one of the weakest teams as far as that's concerned over the last couple years. And you look at, now all of a sudden you have some weapons. You have Saquon, you have Evan Engram back. Odell's back, not injured. Cody Latimer you brought in, he could be a nice, give you a couple receptions a game. But then you look at on defense what they did. Go out and get Lorenzo Carter. They had a need at linebacker. They go out and address that. You get yourself a little pass rusher, B.J. Hill out of NC State. Um, the only pick that I didn't like, Donnie, is the Loletta pick. I don't understand. I don't see the love affair with him. I don't think he's an NFL quarterback, in my opinion. I would have went Mason Rudolph, maybe took him a little earlier, or Mike White later. Loletta, I don't like. He's not going to be a high level quarterback at the NFL. He's a third string player, if that. He has poor arm strength. Just a lot of concerns with Loletta. I'm not sure he's worthy of that, but I thought they had a pretty solid draft, Donnie. Those two teams.
Yeah, no, my two winners, one of them already the one you went over, the Denver Broncos. Because when I look, it's hard to grade drafts, Jeff, as we go over it. We can only give instant impact. And what I like to look at is who had a good draft or is who's going to take instant impact players that have a chance not only, Jeff, to produce this year, but also years down the line. I mean, I don't think you can argue with Denver going, Chubb, Sutton, and Freeman. All three of those guys, day one, Jeff. Not to say that, Cortland Sutton's going to start, but he could be an impact player. Royce Freeman can return kicks, can return punts, can be that third down back that you're lacking there. And also Chubb's a plug and play player that's going to be a very good defensive end right down the line. Then you look at picks after that. Josie Jules, you said, not the biggest guy in the world, but an impact type player. Special teams can come in and play a backup role at the linebacker position. A really good player productivity wise, Jeff. In college, then you get Deshaun Hamilton and Fumagalli. I mean, there's 6 picks right there, Jeff, that you could say, you know what? You got good football players. They're going to push the guy ahead of them and can make an impact right away. The other draft I actually like, Jeff, impact for this season was the Carolina Panthers. You go DJ Moore round 1 with wide receiver. You can mix him in the packages that they like to use down there. I like that pick a lot. And then we talked about it all season long and all off season long, Jeff. You have to address the cornerback position, picking up Jackson and Gardner and Golden, the cornerback out of Tennessee. Very good impact players that can help right away. Those two for me, just looking early on, Jeff, winners in my book. Let's go over a couple losers, Jeff. Give me 2 losers in the NFL draft that we looked at that, said, hey, look, you should have done better here.
I would first say the Oakland Raiders. I thought they had among the worst drafts in the league. I don't understand the thought process with this team.
We think
This is a
alike.
team. Yeah, this is a team that was not good last year, as we know. This is a team that hasn't been good in many years. And listen, when you're a team like this, you can't particularly take a ton of risk. You have to hit out of the park. You have to make way. You have to add needs. You have to address needs, none of which they seem to do. In the places that they did draft, they just didn't make any sense. I think offensively, they're probably the same as they were last year. I don't see a great addressing of the offensive line. You went out and got Colton Miller, but he wasn't near the best player at the position. You traded up to get him. Um, that wasn't the biggest need, though. They had many other needs that they failed to address. And you look at all the uh, just the chances they took here. You got to be a bit concerned. I mean, Maurice Hurst has heart issues. That's a physical issue that you're just maybe not going to be able to deal with. You're really just trying to take shots here and hope that they work out. Look, if they work out, they're going to make sense. Maurice Hurst was a top first round pick, but you know he slipped to the fifth or sixth round because of his physical conditions. You can't, you're not going to outwork that. It just is what it is. I thought Arden Key was a bit of a stretch as well. Arden Key has character issues. They were largely documented at LSU. Azim Victor was suspended several times at Washington. There are just too many chances that they took. When you're the Oakland Raiders, you have to try to make picks that make sense, that will work. They're going to be impact players right away. A lot of these guys are just risks, and I don't really understand where they went. Also, you added Martavius Bryant, who has issues as well. You had a Doug Martin, who's had character issues lately. I mean, this is just a group full of just character issues. I don't understand what the Raiders are doing.
No, no, the Raiders to me, when you go over it, Jeff, and look as a whole, I almost wanted to think like, you know how you watch like maybe an older movie like a Vanilla Sky, or you heard about Ted Williams, where they cryo freeze your body, like just save your brain. I'm thinking like on draft day or every once in a while, Jeff, they just bring Al Davis up out of the cryogenics freezer and say, Al, what do you want here? And he goes, give me the guys out there that are about to get arrested. Give me the fastest guy. Give me the guy that got thrown out of school 3 or 4 times. We'll draft him and we'll save a lot of money late. I like Maurice Hurst. Good kid. You can't take, there's a reason, Jeff, where that guy goes first round talent and drops all the way down. There's a reason why the Raiders take him, because that's what they do. Arden Key. Is there a, I mean, I don't even want to say anything bad about the kid because everybody deserves a shot to get to the pros and see what they can do. But there's a reason why he was so talented and could never get on the field for a multitude of situations. It doesn't make any sense what the Raiders do. And you're right, trading for the wide receiver from Pittsburgh. It's almost like they sort of like get a rise, Jeff, out of saying, we're going to still run that 1970s playbook where we're going to take the Renegades that, instead of getting a good night's sleep on a Saturday night before they play on Sunday, they're going to be out raising hell at the bar, womanizing and getting into fights because that's the MO that we like, being the Oakland Raiders. I don't understand it. I thought once Al Davis passed away, they would move ahead of all that, but it seems like they just dip right back into the old school theory saying, you know what, if we can't beat them on the field, we'll beat them off the field and we'll at least get some headlines out here while we're moving the Vegas. I don't understand, Jeff, what the Raiders do, and it still seems to continue with Al Davis not even there.
Yeah, no, they just continuously strike out, and look, all the teams in that division got much better. I mean, the Broncos are a better football team. The Chargers are a better football team. The Chiefs are mired in a slump, but again, I just don't seem to understand much of what they did. Another team that I thought had a bad draft, and this is no surprise, the Cleveland Browns. I mean, you look at every pick they made, it's hard to justify that any of them made sense. Obviously at the beginning, you took the quarterback that is the biggest question mark. He's either going to be really good or he's going to set your franchise back years. You then took Denzel Ward, who I think out of all the picks they made, it was probably the best. But we'll agree at that spot, it was too high. And Denzel Ward was late, lottery. I would have took, Chubb and really set yourself up defensively because we all know Le'Veon Bell is going to be someone you're going to see on a regular basis. There's some good running backs in the AFC that you're going to see. You need to have that run defense. You need to have the ability to get to the quarterback with Ben Roethlisberger and Tom Brady and all these different great quarterbacks in the AFC. You look at the second round. Okay, you take Austin Corbett. Austin Corbett's a good guard. Okay, he is. I'm not gonna knock the pick. He's a good player. He's a nice kid, but it didn't address a need. You don't need a guard. You need a tackle. Joe Thomas is gone, Donnie. Not coming back. I'm not sure why you took Austin Corbett. You need a tackle. Did they get confused and think that Corbett was a tackle? He's a guard, not a tackle. Then you took Nick Chubb, Donnie, out of Georgia. Love Nick Chubb, good player, but he's a first down back. You already have a first down back in Carlos Hyde. Where's the change of base player here? I don't see it. Nick Chubb,
What do you got
bad
Duke
pick
Johnson
again.
though? Duke's pretty good on
Right.
that. I mean, I didn't mind the Chubb pick so much though.
But you should listen. In my opinion, it was Darius Geis, someone like that here. A bit more of kind of a pound, ground and pound kind of guy, a Garrett Blunt type. Nick Chubb is the same player as Hyde. Then you take probably the worst pick in the draft. Antonio Callaway is he's might have the most problems I've ever seen that a guy gets drafted with. I mean, Donnie, how do they feel that it's going to make sense to put Antonio Callaway on the same team as Josh Gordon? Not only on the same team, they play the same position. They're going to be around each other all the time. Antonio Callaway's been arrested 5 different times in his college career. Sexual assault, drug possession twice. Went to a hearing. Said he was so high he couldn't even have sex. All these different character issues. How's Antonio Callaway still in the street? Can you explain that to me? Because if it was
Yeah,
me, I'd probably be in
yeah.
jail.
Yeah, it reads right down to who annoyed you on draft day or draft weekend, I should say. And it's not even close. It wasn't even a player. It wasn't a person interviewing. It was a person that you saw because they have a ton of draft picks. John Dorsey up there. They go to cut away to the press conference, and somebody asked him a question. What do you think about Antonio Callaway? How are you going to keep him in line? And his response was, "Well, when he gets here, we're going to talk to him about what it means to be a Cleveland Brown. And once we get done talking to him about what it means to be a Cleveland Brown, he'll be okay." So basically, what it means to be a Cleveland Brown, you draft Johnny Manziel, you let him gamble while NFL games are going on where he should be on the sidelines while he has a concussion in a wig and a mask. Then you have Josh Gordon, who's been suspended 95 million times. And keep in mind, you refused to cut the guy loose when you said time and time again when he messed up, this is the end of the road, we're going to get rid of him. And then all of a sudden somebody says, well, there might be value there. What actually does it mean to be a Cleveland Brown other than being the single worst franchise in sports that doesn't win any games? So theoretically, Jeff, him drafting Antonio Callaway, a loser, to a loser organization, that's a match made in heaven. So when you talk to Antonio Callaway about being a Brown, he is a Brown, straight up loser.
No, you're totally right. And look, Antonio Callaway might be one of those guys that totally makes a 180 and decides that he's going to wise up and be good NFL player. But it's not going to be exactly the smartest thing to give him a whole. I don't know how much money he'll make if he'll even make the team. I'm going to go ahead and say he won't. Um, Listen, there's a ton of issues with this guy. I get he's a good player, but he didn't even play his senior season, Donnie. Remember, I mean, and this
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
this wasn't he just stole a credit card and used it one time at a restaurant. No, it was a felony credit card fraud case where they were him and other football players were stealing multiple cards and using them to put large items on their own account.
Yeah.
So this
Yep.
is a bigger thing than just, oh, I stole a credit card and used it one time like Doug Gottlieb. It's not the same thing here. Awful draft. Don't see any. Yeah, but it's expected from them. That's what they do
No,
in
yeah, you're
Cleveland.
right.
You're
One
right.
one
They
last
are a
one
loser
last point,
group.
Antonio Callaway heading to the draft, Jeff. I mean, look, if there's one thing you have to do right, you're going to the biggest job interview of your life. All they want to do is talk to you, see how you answer questions, and say, you know what? Everybody knows you will be piss tested at this combine, and that's going to show people how seriously you are about entering the NFL. He failed a drug test at the like that has to be the most asinine thing. Like you're going through interviews at your regular job, whatever you have. You're going to be in sales. You're going to be a truck driver, a bus driver, a teacher. You're going to go down to the lab to get piss tested, and you know it once you in order to get application and be there. You say, oh man, I smoked weed a couple days ago. Oh, I hope they don't catch it. You have to be like that is a flag right there that says he tested at the combine for drugs. Yeah, he's out. Like, why would he even be on your draft board at that point? How serious is the guy?
He also during that sexual assault trial that he had when he was at the hearing, he was quoted as saying, "I was so stoned, I didn't want to have sex with anyone." He was also cited for marijuana possession after being a passenger in a car. So obviously, this is a guy that has a issue here. This isn't going to change. This is Josh Gordon. It's exactly what it is. And they just as a team, I don't understand John. I guess he just thinks he's going to like fix all these kids. I don't really get it. I don't see it. I just don't. The mess of the Browns just continue. Donnie, what do you have on bad drafts?
The Oakland was my one of my bad drafts. Also, now it's sort of you get one hand tied behind your back. The Eagles I thought had a good draft with limited draft picks. The one team I thought didn't really help themselves that much that was the Kansas City Chiefs, but that comes from the whole
Yeah.
Mahomes deal yesterday, which stripped them of a lot. I thought it was a reach on Speaks in round one. I don't think they got that many impact players. Look, they should be a decent football team, but it only depends on how good your young quarterback is going to play. I'm not so sure they helped them out all that much. But then again, the same thing that the Eagles were in that when you're trading away draft picks, when you try to replenish getting a quarterback. The one thing that helped the Eagles out the year before, Jeff, was what? The Sam Bradford trade, which allowed them to get draft picks back. Kansas City didn't have that, so you're stripped this year, and you didn't help your football team. It's not like saying, you're the Patriots or you're the Eagles or you're the Steelers, where it's like, hey, so what? We went light on the draft. We'll get more draft picks next year and we'll reload and rebuild. They're already in the rebuild mode, and they couldn't rebuild that much this year.
Yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, you don't address anything as far as talent positions. Still think that's a concern. Look, I've been on record as saying I think this is a bad football team. I think they're a 6-win team. I just don't see a lot to get excited about if you're a Chiefs fan, and you're really, mortgaging your future on Patrick Mahomes, who may or may not work. And we've and I've been on record saying this. I don't think it will work. Donnie, as far as value is concerned, there were some good draft picks as far as where you got them. Do you have anyone picked out that you thought, wow, that's a great pick at that time in the draft, or maybe that's a
Yeah, yeah, I
bit of
yeah, I got
bit
two
early?
of them real quick. The one we talked about over the weekend on Saturday, Jeff, and obviously after the first round was Rosen, Arizona. Even though he slipped to 10, I thought he was the best overall pick. That he should have gone number one. He goes to 10 and a great fit for Arizona. But number two, this is an interesting one that got brought up because I wanted the Eagles to take Darius Geis, and there are so much smoke going around Darius Geis at this point. Like him and Duke Staley got into a physical altercation in the building. There's a reason why he dropped down because the talent on the field that you pop on is a first round talent. He slips all the way down to the Redskins, which again, that's a boomer bust pick that can help them out because they need all the weapons that they can get. I think Darius Geis was a good pick, but the Eagles are denying everything. And then, this, but there's a reason why teams talk to each other behind the scenes. Howie Roseman reaching out if somebody picks up someone and say, hey, look, he's not even on our draft board at this point. If Geis works out, it's a great pick for the Redskins. But again, that's where the coin flip comes in.
Yeah, just two for me. I think 207, St. Brown to the Green Bay Packers in the sixth round. I had him in
Jeff,
the
why did he
second round.
slip? What now? Now, you saw the HBO thing where they did on his family, right? I think Brian Gumble went, or maybe it was an ESPN story where like the dad trains them and they have another young kid or another brother who's coming up through the ranks as well. Did he fall because his father's going to be so instrumental in his life, or what was the reason for that?
I think maybe a lot of people just viewed him more as like maybe they don't know that he could develop and be that NFL guy. I don't know. I This was kind of a mystery to me. I thought he was, like I said, I thought he was more of a second, third round pick. I don't know. That's something I've tried to figure out. I can't answer that. Because when you look at his strengths and weaknesses, most of his strengths, will be stuff that'll work at the next level. I don't know. That's a great question. I know the father, the two-time Mr. Universe and big weightlifter and that kind of thing. He's, kind of got that, maybe people are concerned that he's going to be a LeVar Ball type. I don't see it. Yeah, that's a great question, Donnie. I don't know. And that's why for me, it was a big time success. I feel like, he will do something at least. And in the sixth round, I think it's worthy. Another guy I've talked about, I think Luke Falk at 199, sixth round. He's a guy that I think I wouldn't be surprised to see him be a starter someday in the NFL. I think he has the NFL caliber body, the NFL caliber arm. He's obviously a bit immobile, but I've been on record as saying I see some Tom Brady in the guy. I really do. He kind of progresses and patterns his game off Brady. He almost worships Brady, frankly. I don't know how good the Tennessee fit is. He's not going to get on the field there, but um, I wouldn't be surprised to see Luke Falk someday do well at the next level. But yeah, that's a good question on St. Brown. I just don't know. Donnie, we'll wrap up the draft here with two other points here. The Eagles draft a player, Donnie, that has never played organized football. Your thoughts on that? Seventh round.
I mean, it's seventh round to me, Jeff. Fifth, sixth, and seventh round. You're just taking flyers on guys that you think might work out there. Remember a couple years ago, Jeff, we had Villanueva in Philadelphia coming right out of the Army, and now Chip Kelly didn't know how to use him, was trying to put him at tight end. Now is a really good tackle in the National Football League. One of these type of guys, Jeff. He's 20 years old, coming in. What is he? 6'8", 345 pounds. You could see he's a super athlete. Maybe he comes in as athletic enough where he can stick around for a year, maybe on the practice squad, or do one of those infamous, he's injured with a hamstring injury and try to keep him for a year and coach him up. I don't see any problem with it because the reality of making your team fifth, sixth, seventh round and undrafted free agents is very low. That's where you want to take the flyer on kids. Like, if a player dropped down and he's just, like in Callaway, if you took him in the seventh round and an undrafted free agent, would you even care if you cut him? No. But when you spend actual capital that moves up in the draft, it makes a difference. I don't mind it. It's a pretty cool story. When you watch the kid, he's running over, playing in his own age group. What was it, the under 21s or under 20s? My goodness, man.
Yeah, fascinating kid. Turned to be, it probably will be my favorite player if he makes the Eagles team. Very Vince Papali-ish, Donnie, if he could make the team. Who annoyed me in the draft? That's a good question. Uh, Probably Antonio Callaway. I was fairly annoying that he got drafted. I don't think he deserved it. I think he's a mug. I think he's a punk. I don't think he deserves to be in the NFL. So I'll go with him. Who else? That's a good question. Oh, Donnie, by the way, I meant to tell you. Did you see
Yeah.
your boy Poling got drafted from Ohio?
Yes, I did. Yeah. That came across the wire. Yeah, Quentin Pauling. Did he get drafted or did he go
Very
unrestricted? Or did he go,
no,
what,
he got
7th round?
drafted. The Dolphins took him in the 7th round.
Yeah, I like that kid. I mean, I don't know if he's big
Yeah.
enough to make the team, but somebody like that can always stick around because as long as you're going to have special teams in the NFL, you want a guy with a high motor that's productive and gets after it. He's one of them. One of the kids I root for. I watched him for a long time, both me and you, Jeff, over at Ohio there. One quick thing here, Jeff. Mr. ESPN brings up about Lamar Jackson going 35. Actually went 32 at the end of the first round, and I thought that's where he should have went to a perfect situation to a team that doesn't have to rush him on the field and can work with him. I thought it was the best spot. I mean, a lot of people say, well, why didn't you go sooner? Why didn't somebody trade up to get him, Jeff? Because if you're getting him, Jeff, in the 10th pick, the 11th pick, or the 12th pick, do you know what your fan bases expect from him from day one? He better be the starter, whether he's ready or not. I think the Ravens getting him, I mean, I don't know how good of a quarterback he's going to be. I'm on record saying that I think he's going to win games in the NFL. I don't think he's long for the NFL because I think he's going to get hurt. Most quarterbacks that are super mobile, they're going to make plays with their feet, but that's going to add added injury to it. I think if you can manage him, he can win some football games in the NFL. But overall, perspective-wise, I think he went to the perfect spot for him as a football player.
Big man, quote me. Vikings got the steal of the whole draft. He was undrafted. Free agent Colton Hill. Remember that name. First of all, Teddy B, it's Holton Hill. Second of all, look, he's an undrafted free agent. I mean, I'll root for you here on this. Holton Hill had some issues at Texas. He had some suspension problems. There's a reason he's an undrafted free agent. Teams don't want to take shots on him. He was a 5th round, 6th round pick at best. We'll root for you on that. But I don't know if I see it again. That would be something that I wish the best for you on that one. I don't know though. We'll see. Couple other ones here. Do we think players know the spreads ever? Of course. I think that's been on record. I think if you remember Donnie, in that one, what was it? That college game, Bonzi Colson. One of the one of the players asked him, "Yo, did you see the spread was whatever, whatever?" I think all the guys, whether it's pro or college, yeah, I think they definitely know what the number is. Pats replace Amendola with Berrios. Yeah, that's a good point. Braxton Berrios goes to the Patriots, which Donnie, I think we both thought that would happen.
Yeah, you should have just gave the Pats like a compensation pick for him because that's the only place you knew he was going to end up, right?
Yeah, exactly. Let's move on to the NBA. A little recap, and then we'll get into tonight's action. LeBron moves on. LeBron was obviously very good yesterday, 45 points. Did have the refs help, I thought at times. But look, Cleveland played well. I mean, they led most, the whole game. I think there was one point where Indiana had a lead, but for the most part, Cleveland did a nice job. I will give Tyronn Lue a little credit. Listen, from a off the court perspective, Tristan Thompson's an irritating asshole. I think even on the court, he's an irritating asshole. But he did play well yesterday, and it was a nice move by Lue to insert him. Gave them a good energy and helped them early. Really allowed them to have a lead. But look, it's LeBron. They go how LeBron goes. And if LeBron's not there, we know they're a bad basketball team. They escape here. I don't know how long that's going to last, though, Donnie.
Yeah, and he missed a good chunk of what the fourth quarter there with cramping up or an injury. Went back to the locker room and even made a point saying when they went out of the game, they're only up a couple points, extended it up to double digits. But when you just watch him play, he's so fluid at everything. I mean, he seems like he's never long term injured. He's always ready to play 40 minutes. In the biggest games now, he's dropping 45 in Game 7 closeouts. It's pretty clear it's LeBron or nobody on that team, as we've said all along. It's amazing to watch him out there because you just expect it now. Oh, wait, LeBron's on. Well, what's he going to give you? 38, 10, and 7. It's almost a given every single night. And Jeff, he's not 24, 25, 26, or 27. He's in his damn near, 15th year in the league and brings it every single night. It's an amazing specimen to watch. Moves on to play Toronto. I think deep down, every Toronto fan was hoping that LeBron James and the Cavs would get beat yesterday for something new. But hey, here comes LeBron heading down the path. And we all know if we're conspiracy theorists, Jeff, what's good for NBA ratings? LeBron James and the Cavaliers moving on.
Right. I'm not going to get into Scott Foster. I think I was very obviously vocal on that. I think it's a disgrace that he's allowed to ref in the NBA continuously after all these years. Tony Brothers, for that matter, as well. Oklahoma City's heading home after bowing out in Game 6. We talked about this a bit on Saturday. Obviously, the last couple minutes were a mess. It was again horribly refed. But Russell Westbrook goes into the sunset of the 2018 season with the same old questions. What exactly are you going to do to make it work with this guy? There have been multiple attempts to make it work. It hasn't worked. Oklahoma City headed home. Donnie, we talked about this on Saturday, but what do you do here? I mean, how do you improve this? Because your Carmelo doesn't want to come off the bench. Paul George is gone. Uh, what do you do here?
Yeah, the whole thing is like, it's Carmelo just throwing a switchblade into the environment every single time. Because if you look at Oklahoma City, there is talent there. Obviously, Russell Westbrook's talented, Paul George is talented. But when you get knocked out early and you say, you know what, year one, you know what, let's go for another run again. Let's really improve the team. You know what the funny part about it is, Jeff? You can't, and you're going to be such a heavy tax burden of a luxury tax in the NBA. It makes no sense for Paul George to stay anymore. Because even if he did sit down like a little Knights of the Round Table, Westbrook got together said, look, Paul, I need you here. We're going to go out. Let's go recruit a third wheel out here and let's see if we can run it back again. And then the record scratches like like, and it says, wait a second, Melo's coming back for $30 million next year. We can't add anybody. No, Paul George says, hey, Russ, man, good luck next year. Get all the triple doubles you like, but I'm bouncing out of here to a team that can actually compete. They can't afford to get anybody else in there. And the best part about it, Jeff, is how you sit back and sometimes you have a big ego like your Melo, like, hey, man, I still should be starting. I still should be coming off the bench. No ego is big enough that says, look, if I opt out of this, who's going to pay me and even want me on their team? Check, please. I'll sign up for the $30 million next year and I'll be ready to go. The worst case scenario for Oklahoma City.
Utah, the team that beat them, had a tough game yesterday. Tough spot for them. Limited rest. Had to travel the night before. They weren't any match for the Rockets. Tough game there for them. They go down 1-0. I know Ricky Rubio. He needs to get healthy. They need to get back to the drawing board. They just need a little rest, frankly.
Yeah, no, you need Ricky Rubio back in there to sort of that veteran presence back there to sort of calm the storm if you're in a different environment. But everybody's waiting. I mean, we want Golden State, we want Houston, we want to see that epic series. This is just another team in a way. Utah is a very good team. But when you're matching up against a team with the likes of Houston, that's going to be at home in this. You're trying to hopefully, Jeff, if you want to hang around, steal a game. I always say the easiest game to steal in any time, even though you're coming off the quick turnaround there for Utah. You got to steal game one because you're new to the series. When you go down 0-1, the pressure then turns on the younger team with Utah, who's not really used to being there. James Harden should be able to, pursue and Chris Paul and that. If they go down 2-0, it's probably over. But the game you always want to steal in any time is game one, so you can take that breath in game two. Now you're back under the gun. But again, I don't think too many people expected Utah, Jeff, to pull this one out in this series anyway.
No, good point. Let's move to tonight, Donnie. You got the Sixers heading on the road to take on Boston. Boston obviously played Saturday night. Quick turnaround here. Monday evening up in TD Garden. Sixers 3.5, 206.5. No Jaylen Brown, Donnie. That's a big loss for the Boston Celtics. You look at this team, and I got to ask you. I mean, you look at Boston's depth chart right now with no Jaylen Brown, with no Kyrie Irving, obviously no Gordon Hayward. You look at this team on the surface. I mean, are they much better than the Miami Heat? I mean, really, team the Sixers just dispatched easily. Obviously, look, some bigger names. Al Horford, Jason Tatum's had a nice season, but I just don't. I'd be glowingly surprised if they win more than 2 games in the series. The Sixers are a different animal. How do you see this game? How do you see this series shaking out?
It's a pretty good one. I mean, if you look at Intertops there, it opened up much like a lot of sports books, Jeff. -2, -2.5, now ballooning up to 3.5. And in some cases, some books are out there at -4, which shows you the respect that the Sixers are getting. Also, Jeff, coming out yesterday, you saw a couple retweets out there. Series price for the Sixers, the lower seed going on the road, minus as high, Jeff, as -400, selling in around that high -380s. That's a lot of respect out of Las Vegas. But if you go man for man, the Sixers are a more talented team. But having said that, Jeff, Sixers haven't been in this position before before, which was the same argument we used versus the Miami Heat, saying, hey, some people would say a veteran team. I don't know how many veterans that Miami was used to other than Dwayne Wade in the playoffs, but they dispatched them in 5 games coming in well rested, which is another thing. You're going on the road. It's hard to beat Boston in Boston. You know they're going to be prepared and coached very well. And how are the young Sixers, Jeff, going to handle this layoff here between about a week between games? They are rested and ready, and I do think they are the better team, and I think they can handle the Celtics. But I'm intrigued as everybody else coming in to just see game one, how the Sixers will handle that road crowd. Because if you saw anything from the press coming out, Ersan Ilyasova saying, hey, look, we played in Miami games 3 and 4, but 50% of the people aren't even in the stands at that point. You're not going to get that in Boston. They're going to be ready to go, and it's a great rivalry dating back to the 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80s with the Sixers. Good to see the revival. Rooting for the Sixers. I think they're the better team, and they win the series, but it's going to be a tough one.
Without Jaylen Brown, they're not much better than the Heat. I'll go on record in saying that. I don't, with this current team that will play tonight, I don't think they're much better than the Heat. I don't think who's going to stop Embiid. I mean, Aaron Baines. He's Kelly Olynyk. That's exactly what he is. He's going to commit fouls. That's all they're going to be able to do. So what do you think, Donnie? 6 and 5?
No, I think the perfect one would be because the Sixers don't have home court advantage, Jeff. I think the Sixers in 6 makes the most sense. You don't want to go back to Boston for a game 7. And I think it would be a little bit quick. I think, there's some moxie to go along with Boston. They're going to come to play each and every night. And again, getting back to Brad Stevens, he's a great coach. They'll have them prepared. I think the Sixers can get it done in game 6. I think that's where they have to get it done.
So 4-2. Very good.
Yeah.
Tonight, Donnie, I think it's gonna be hard for Boston. I mean, this obviously is in Boston, and that's nice and all. But listen, I think the Sixers cover tonight. It is getting a little high though. 4 is a bit high.
Yeah.
I, I, I just don't know that that's enough tonight to beat the Sixers. Rozier, Tatum, Smart, and Horford. I would really show Smart in there. Smart's just kind of the James Johnson type. I feel like he'll be in this series. Just kind of a bit of a goon, that kind of guy. We'll see. I don't know if there's value in betting this game tonight at 4, bit high, Donnie. But I think the Sixers will win. I think the goal for them is go in there, get some wins, and head back home. Donnie, quickly, MLB. We don't have a ton of time left. Let's get into MLB tonight. What do we got on the card?
Yeah, before we get into that with a quick recap, if we slide that down, Yanks.
Just not a ton of
What's
time
that?
here. We only have about 3 minutes, I believe. So,
all right, let's go with the D-backs Dodgers. Do a quick one here. Let me just pull up my odds board here to see what we have on the D-backs and the Dodgers. Stripling and Greinke going to start this one. Jeff, Intertop showing an over-under total of 8 and also minus 133, 83% of the early tickets. Jeff, coming in the hometown team, the Zach Greinke-led Arizona Diamondbacks, 129 at Pinnacle, 140 at Crisp, but Intertop showing a minus 133 plus 123 split. What can we look for the D-backs and the Dodgers at this point, who are benching guys now, Jeff, for not hustling?
Yeah, I saw that. How about that? Benching Cody Bellinger, Donnie, he was the golden child last year, wasn't he? Remember how
Looks
good
like
he
he's
was?
high all the time. Yeah, maybe he's smoking too much
now. They've lost 5 of 6. Really, just have had no consistency this year. Have the Dodgers, and they're benching players. How about that? 12 and 15 on the year, heading down to Arizona, a team that's had a nice season. Arizona's done a nice job getting great pitching all year. And look, Zach Greinke's, you got to figure he's going to be the guy here. Pretty much a decent price, especially with the way the Dodgers have struggled. Arizona's won 5 of 6 also this year against the LA Dodgers, starting to really exude that they might be the best team in the NL West. The Dodgers bullpen has struggled. Really nothing, Donnie, about the Dodgers that we saw last year has come to fruition. Bullpen's having issues. Turner's injured. A lot of the same bats haven't been able to perform. They just haven't looked good at all. I think it's a good play here on Arizona. I get the money. I get the reasoning here. Arizona looks to be the good play. You just have to hope Greinke doesn't have one of those, blow ups. Overall, though, looks like a good play here. This looks like a real good play.
Yeah, just told Jeff we have about 5 to 6 minutes left in the show, so we can run this right up to about 10:55. Have a little bit of fun. Game 2, we'll take a look at Jeff 9:13, 9:14. Texas and Cleveland. Hamels and Trevor Bauer on the mound. 69% of the tickets, Jeff, early coming in on the Cleveland Indians. Intertop's currently showing Jeff a hefty favorite of minus 180. Over under looks like 8 across the board. Intertop shows an over 8 minus 120. The crafty lefty Hamels on the mound versus Bauer at home. What's going to give today?
Yeah, I mean, Cleveland, the team that, was laying a big price at Carrasco. I got kind of into that over the weekend. Didn't come to fruition. Listen, I mean, Cleveland doesn't hit lefties, Donnie. 8 games this year against lefties, they hit 178 or hitting 178. Haven't been particularly good at home. They're winning games, but they're not scoring a ton of runs. Texas, obviously, you mentioned Crafty. That's a good way to describe Cole Hamels at this point in his career. Crafty. You just got to hope that he keeps the ball down and doesn't give up home run balls. That's obviously always a big problem with Cole Hamels. He's given up 8 already this year in 6 games. And the truth of the matter is, they just don't win with Cole Hamels as the pitcher. Um, but he's been pretty good. And Trevor Bauer's a guy that, over the course of this, his career, he's been tough to deal with, but he's done a nice job. This is too high for me, though. This reminds me a bit of the Cologne start for the Rangers over the weekend. They were able to get the job done there. I wouldn't be surprised, maybe taking the Rangers plus a half run in the first five. I just am not a ton confident right now in the Indians' ability to win games and score runs. There is a bit of value here in Texas just because Indians aren't good against lefties. Maybe they can have a lead after the first five, but I wouldn't be wanting to get involved with the bullpens here because there's a stark contrast between them in Cleveland generally.
No, I hear you on that. And again, you're right. But this stuff like that Phillies MO I used to take, Jeff, with Cole Hamels back when they had a bad Phillies team, but he was still a really good pitcher. You could get him, run line plus one or excuse me, plus a half run, right around even or minus 105 or minus 110 was always good because you knew, Jeff, he was going to give you one of those performances, 5 innings, one, maybe 2 earned runs at that point. You're just looking for one swing of the bat from the Philadelphia Phillies, but it's tough to back them right now. We'll see how the Rangers end up. But you know what? Seeing Cole Hamels at that steep price there always is going to raise a little bit of an eyebrow out there. So some interesting stuff in Major League Baseball getting another day. Jeff, maybe the last day that we'll have to say, boy, it's really chilly up here on the East Coast because heaven forbid it is May now. Christ.
No, I know. One other thing, Donnie, quickly, and then we have a minute or two. We got added here. Listen, when you see Brian Mitchell throwing, you bet against him. Brian Mitchell has no business in the major leagues, and he's on a team that's incredibly poor. The Padres are really bad. Will Myers is on the DL now. They're
Again?
bad, man. And
Dang.
Brian Mitchell sucks. Every time this guy pitches, bad things happen. Fade Brian Mitchell when you see him on the hill because he's on a bad
Yeah.
team. There's just not um, there's just not a lot to like about Brian Mitchell.
Yeah, some other things happening here on the channels, Jeff. Me and you will be taping another wrap-up show of the draft, getting a little bit more in-depth, nice little 10 to 15 minute video. Excuse me, keep an eye out on that. But again, for me, baseball, you follow me, throughout the months, years, whenever it is on Twitter. April is really a low point for me. And what I mean by that is, I have a lot of fun in April. I just don't have enough fun because I don't gamble that much. May 1st for me kicks everything off. Going to be much more engaged in baseball season. Been waiting. The numbers are there. Excited and chomping at the bit, Jeff. The weather's about to change. Cigar weather's going to be here. Barbecue weather is going to be here. Another day closer to the IFBC in Las Vegas. A lot of good stuff happening here on the channels at sportsbookreview.com, Jeff. And I'm excited. We'll have a lot of fun throughout the entire summer, man.
Donnie Big Man, do you bet on the Derby? No. I mean, I might do it
No.
just to have fun, but I
Yeah,
don't. I don't know.
yeah, I second. I ask people for advice on the Derby and throw a little bit down, but don't. I'm not handicapping it. I have no idea who's in the race, and I've never capped a horse race effectively. Back when you're 17 and 18 years old, heading to the track, because you can actually gamble at that point. Maybe you're looking at a little bit of the information and odds, but no, I'm not a horse handicapper by any means.
I know a guy in Arkansas. He's a pretty good horse handicapper. I'll get picks off of him or something, but no, I can't say I know
Is that
anything
this weekend,
about
by
it.
the way, Derby? Is that this weekend?
I believe it is. Yeah, it's always the first week in May, I believe. I believe it says Saturday. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Always a fun watch there. We'll start that horse racing season and see what happens. Obviously, appreciate all the people that tuned in today. As always, good stuff. We thank you for that. We'll be back, Donnie and I, tomorrow, same time, same place. Thanks to Johan for producing the show. Buddy Bills 357. Top parlay for today's slate. Uh, well,
Let's go. We'll go. I'm going to go Boston at home and match them up with the Phillies. Can't lose.
Boston, Phillies. That's what you like?
No, I'm just
Yeah, we're not big parlay people here. Listen, I'll give you some plays if you want to put them in and parlays. Go ahead. I'll go Sixers and I'll go. I actually like Arizona. I think it's a pretty good play. Kind of squarish, but I like it. Big man, are you coming to the IFBC? Yes. So make sure all you people that have stuff to say, make sure you say it in
Party
person. I'll see you then.
people.
Yes, and Donnie and I will be partying. We'll be throughout the weekends. We'll be hosting parties at Hakkasan and all these different great clubs. It's going to be a great time. I'm really looking forward to it, and we'll have fun there at IFC. Donnie, I bid you adieu. Thanks for coming on. Me and Donnie, as always, here, 10 o'clock a.m. We are the right side of campus. We'll see you tomorrow, 10 o'clock Eastern.